I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, yo, hey, y'all, what's up? Welcome to the new Amsterdam After Show, episode 12. It's called 14 Years, 2 months, 8 days. I am your man, the Tyler Tyson. So much happened on this episode. We're going to get to all of that coming up. We do have our news and gossip, our special segment, and of course, my question of the week. But first, let me give you my thoughts on this particular episode. You know what? I really enjoyed this episode. And I know I kind of say that every single week, just about. But this episode I enjoyed because even though they didn't tape it based off of what was going on in the world this past weekend, which we'll talk about later on in the show also, it still was so right spot on. It was almost like they just, I don't know, it's like the universe and everything is just working together to kind of make everything that's going on right now make sense. And so I just really appreciated this particular episode. They touched on grief. They touched on how to let someone transition on peacefully and what that process kind of looks like for all of the different people involved. I mean, there's just so much that they did, and they did it perfectly. So that's what I liked about this episode. Please let us know what you think about this episode down below with the comments and in the chat room. So let's go ahead and get into our very first topic, which is Jackson and the vaping. So there was a young man, I don't think they said his age, but if I had to guess, it was around 16 or so, who was admitted into the hospital, and they couldn't really figure out why. He was having some issues with his breathing, and they had to do a bunch of emergency procedures. Come to find out, he had been a victim of vaping. And of course, like all of the stories that we hear on a daily basis here now, the parents were completely unaware that he was vaping. He was an honor student, because, you know, there's this stigma that the people that vape or smoke or do anything in that lane, you know, they're kind of riffraffs a little bit, or maybe they don't take life and school and all of those things seriously, when that's just not the case. I mean, we all have been to school. Well, most of us have been to some type of school. And even once you get beyond high school, it's still something that you see. You see people popping Adderall, drinking, smoking, everything goes on when you're in college, especially. And so they kind of touched on all of that. Now, the question that I have and that I don't understand at this particular point in time is why anyone is still vaping. And this is not a shame discussion that I'm about to get into with you. This is not me preaching to anyone. These are just my thoughts on the topic. And for me, I just feel like if you're going to smoke, I would prefer that you don't smoke. But if you are going to smoke the real thing. Like, and I feel like this goes across the board with the things that we drink, the things that we put in our bodies to eat, smoking, whatever it is. You should really try to go for the real, natural or close to real thing as you can. Now, we all know cigarettes aren't particularly natural once they add in everything else. You know, the most natural form of smoking cigarettes and tobacco would be to actually just get the plant out of the ground and do what you need to do. But it's still fewer chemicals than what's found in the vaping. And it's the chemicals, the added chemicals that we don't even know what they are. The reason why it's so hard to treat these individuals that are suffering from these lung diseases and all of these different things as a result of the vaping is because we don't really know all of the chemicals that are in there. And they discuss that on the show. So my thing is, if you're going to do it, just smoke the real thing. That goes for the tobacco. That goes for even the weed vapes, because, you know, they make weed vapes where they use wax and they use all different types of things. For me, if you're going to smoke, just smoke the real thing. I feel like you don't see even people that smoke cigarettes, and like I said, I am not encouraging this, but people that smoke cigarettes, you don't see them rush to the ER, you know, because they just smoked a pack. You know what I mean? Like, maybe when they get to a certain age and after doing it for so many years, absolutely, it takes a toll on your body and your lungs. But your first, 5 to 10 years, you should be good. So I just say smoke the natural thing. If you're going to do it, I prefer you don't. But getting back to this particular episode. So they went through the struggle of trying to figure out how to fix his illness and how to even attack it, since there were the methods from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, since their methods are constantly changing, because as they're learning, they're trying to change it on the spot. It was just a very interesting storyline to watch. Now, also revolving around that storyline, y'all know my favorite couple, Dr. Reynolds and Evie. They made an appearance, and Evie really wanted Dr. Reynolds to tell Max that he is moving to San Francisco like he was supposed to in the last episode, and that did not happen yet again. And she actually got to see firsthand how difficult it is to tell Max something when he is needing something from you. So I'm still sticking by the fact that I don't think they're going to make it, but nonetheless, this particular episode, they still are together. It looks like the wedding is still going to happen. And then Max also had a play date with Alice, the woman that we met last episode. She and her little girl, Bobby, they had a play date with Luna and Max, and he initially canceled, but at the end of the episode, you guys saw that he did finally meet up with her in the park. And as I said last week, I am just so excited to see Max get out there and even just begin the process of opening himself up to dating. And I think based on what we've seen so far, Alice looks like an amazing woman and a good person for Max to kind of be with, at least for right now. So moving on from that, before we get into our second topic, I do want to thank you guys for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. And if you're watching us on YouTube right now, please hit that subscribe button and also comment below to let us know what you think about us, me, the show, all of it. We want to hear from you guys. And also, if you're listening on any of the streaming platforms, please give us the 5 stars and, help make us and help to keep us to be the ESPN of TV Talk. I got it out. And then coming into our second topic, this is something that I thought was very interesting also. And I knew she was going to be a problem, which is Dr. Castro. She's the woman that took Dr. Sharp's place as chair of the neurology department. And if you remember in the beginning episodes, Dr. Sharp and Dr. Castro did not like each other. She only really kind of brought her back on and brought her back in the mix just to kind of help with this one particular project. But of course, as we know, Dr. Sharp ended up getting demoted. Thus, she took Dr. Sharp's position, thus becoming her superior. So we knew it was only a matter of time before these two bumped heads. And here we are, they're bumping heads. And basically, the word on the curb, the word around the hospital is that Dr. Castro is single-handedly cherry-picking the patients that she wants to help, which is leading to discrimination, which is leading to her deciding whose life is more important than the other. And the reason that I particularly like this topic is because it shows that racism is not just, how can I say this? It's not just the way that we might think it is. Most of us think, when we think of racism, someone got called some type of N-word or some type of ethnically insensitive word or some racist word or police brutality or something like that. When most times the way that racism, any minority person can probably attest to this, the way that you deal with racism really is that you get little subtle things that most people get. So like in this particular instance, it should just be who's in the most need. You have a heart issue. You need a heart or a kidney like right now, this second. It doesn't matter what you look like. Let's get you the help you need. That's the way it's supposed to go. But a lot of times the racism that we face is, there's an excuse for why, even though you check all the boxes and you are just as much in need as everyone else, there's always a little caveat and a little extra reason why that you can't get the service that you need right now. So I just like the fact that they kind of addressed it right then and there on the spot. As I've said on multiple shows, I don't understand why we as a people, as a country, have an issue talking about race, because it should be just like we talk about everything else. You just talk about it so you can learn from it and move on. It's that simple. It's not anything to be ashamed of. None of us walking this earth right now have done anything to anybody else. Like, we weren't a part of the Holocaust. We weren't part of slavery. So none of us were there. So nobody should feel any type of way of talking about it. You should be able to just talk about it, learn, and keep it moving and make sure we don't do it again. So I just wanted to bring that up. I really just like the way that they addressed it on the show. And another topic that was pretty dope also, and it was actually the meat of the actual episode, which was the woman, and I don't recall them saying her name, but the woman that came in that had lost a lot of weight, but then she had the extra skin. In this particular case, her extra skin was under her arms. And this is something that a lot of women deal with once they get older, especially if they lose a significant amount of weight, is that extra skin. And I felt like the way the woman described it in the episode summed it up. Like, if I had to visualize or imagine how that feels, I think she said it perfectly. It's like being in a body and you're wearing somebody else's body. Like you're trapped in this body that no longer fits you because you're now smaller than what the skin that you have, if that makes sense. The skin that you have on your person is now too big for you and it's just hanging there. So basically the insurance company was denying the claim to have the skin removed, even though as a result of this extra skin, it was causing rashes. It was causing what they call severe chafing, which was causing like the skin to be torn, which was then leading to infection. So it wasn't just I just hate the way this looks and I feel uncomfortable. Like it was really seriously causing some medical issues. And even with that, regardless, the insurance company would not cover the surgery. They said that they would give her medicine for the infections and medicine for the rash, no matter how many times they come and go, but they would not remove the surgery as a preventative method or measure to keep it from happening again. And so what they ended up doing was saying that, she has a certain number of moles and those moles can lead to cancer. And thus they put it in the cancer category. And then she was able to get the procedure. So I really love this topic as well, because I feel like, and they talk about body dysmorphia, which is when you look in the mirror and what you see in the mirror is not an accurate description of what it actually is. So for example, I feel like I low-key sometimes suffer from body dysmorphia because I was a severely skinny kid growing up. And so my struggle has always been gaining weight. And looking in the mirror, sometimes I still see that skinny kid. Even though I know I'm not a skinny kid, even though I know I get on the scale and it says whatever it says, in my mind, when I look in the mirror, sometimes I see that. And if I don't check myself, that can lead to a host of issues. It could lead to depression if I let it. It could lead to possibly overeating because I'm trying to overcompensate to gain some weight. It could lead to an addiction to the gym and all the supplements. I mean, there's so many different directions that could go. And so what I appreciate about this topic is that all of us have a struggle. All of us have things that we don't particularly like about ourselves that we would like to change. And I feel like what we should be doing is bonding together and being support for each other. So, instead of someone that is overweight looking at me and thinking, oh, well, you shouldn't feel any type of way because you're skinny, or you shouldn't feel any type of way because you're this size. It's like, no, we both are basically fighting the same demon, just coming at it from a different angle. So I should be able to be support for you and you could be support for me. I feel like we always think that the grass is greener on the other side. And we always think that, oh, this person has it better than me. So now I'm mad that this person has it better than me. And that's not the case. The truth is we're all struggling with something. And instead of trying to decide who's struggling the worst and who has it harder than somebody else, we should all be able to just bond together and support each other and lift each other up and help each other through these particularly rough times. So those are just some of the things that took place on this episode. I felt like even though the episode was an hour long like normal, I still felt like we got through it pretty quickly. It wasn't heavy. There weren't tears all over the place. Like we all were just kind of getting through. And so that I also really appreciated about this episode. Another topic, which is where we get the title of the show, 14 years, 2 months, and 8 days, is that Dr. Vijay had a patient who was in a coma for that amount of time. And the woman that was his wife literally came to his bedside every single day for 14 years, 2 months, and 8 days. And as a result of that, so like on one side, you're like, whoa, that's dedication. That's what you call ride or die. That's the type of woman that I want to date, or that's what I would want in my spouse, or however you want to look at it. But in actuality, what she was doing was she was not living. She literally was her husband was in a vegetative state right there and a prisoner to that hotel or to that hospital room. And she also was, because she just committed her life to him in that situation. And so she missed out on the birth of her grandchildren. She missed, birthdays and just all of these important things that go on in families. And there was a moment where her kids basically in their own way pleaded for her to just come back. Like, we want you. It's not that we don't love dad, and it's not that we don't love you. It's just that his situation isn't getting any better, and we can come and visit and we can lift him up and we can do all of these things, but you still have to go on with your life because life keeps going. So I just thought that was a very interesting topic that they touched on this particular episode. And so let's go ahead and lighten the mood a little bit and get into our news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So you guys know this particular show, I told you, they're like the good guys of TV because there's never any nasty gossip. There's never anything juicy that I can really bring you because they really just keep everything clean. So the only news and gossip that I have for you this week is our Amsterdam, which Tyler Labine is going to tell you about, and he's going to tell you about it as soon as we get the video. Boom. Y'all ready? Here we go.
Okay, guys, the latest addition to the new Amsterdam playlist is one of my favorites by India Ari. It's a song called Video, and it has to do with loving yourself no matter what, at all costs. And tonight's episode deals very, very heavily with obesity and the epidemic that is obesity as a disease in this country that is not viewed as such. Some people seem to think it's wrapped up in willpower and all kinds of things that it really isn't. And the idea that we should love ourselves less because we look a certain way or our body types are different makes me furious and insane. And if we all just loved ourselves a little bit more, this world would be a much better place. And I've struggled with that my entire life, finding my worth because I have some extra weight on my body. And it makes me mad. I've wasted a lot of time and I don't want to waste any more. So I'm loving myself right now. I want you to love yourself extra hard. And I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. I hope it touches you because it certainly touched me. So please enjoy tonight's episode. Much love from the Dan.
And the dope thing about that particular, so that song that he's talking about is India Ari. It's called Video. It came out in 2001. It's on her Acoustic Soul album. I think was a Grammy nominated album actually. And when that album came out in 2001, yes, I am that old to remember 2001. It was just everywhere. Everyone just loved that album. It was supposed to be one of those game-changing albums, almost like Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation. So that's one. And then also something else that I forgot to mention, and this can fit into news and gossip, and that is Tyler Labine started following me on Instagram. Not only did he begin following me on Instagram, he started reposting all of our videos and clips on our Instagram page. So shout out to Tyler Labine. Shout out to everyone at New Amsterdam. There are plenty of seats here at the table if you guys are ever in the Los Angeles area. I know you guys shoot in New York, but if you're ever in LA, please feel free to drop by the AfterBuzz studios. We will be more than happy to have you here and talk all things New Amsterdam. So that's our news and gossip. I do have for you, though, my question of the week. Yes, I like that. Come on. So our question of the week, you guys know, I don't even tell the producers what it is. They trust me that much to even, for me to hold this secret and bring it to them live like I'm bringing it to you. So here's my question of the week. And I literally just wrote it right before I came on. And it is, I love that, long distance relationships. Do they work? And is that something that you would subscribe to? Like how, and then if you do, how far is too far? You know, long distance can be from here to Florida, or long distance can be from here to San Diego or San Francisco or one of the other various cities in the state of California. So I'm asking you, Vito, what do you think about long distance relationships?
So this is really funny and convenient. By the way, guys, hi, I'm Vito. I'm one of the AfterBuzz producers, specifically the producer for New Amsterdam. So I actually, over the winter break, just got into a long-distance relationship.
Oh, well, there's the applause right there.
Yeah,
Come
thank
on.
you. Here, hold on. No, thank
there
you.
we go.
Thank
Come
you.
on.
Wow, thank you. The crowd is so generous. But yeah, I'm from Philadelphia originally, and so the girl that I'm dating is also from Philadelphia.
Okay.
And she's still in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And so right now she's about 3,000 miles away. Actually, she's about. She's a little farther than that. Right now, she's actually spending the week in France. So.
Oh yes. Okay. So she's across the pond and everything.
Yeah. So, but she's gonna be back in a week. It's just a week trip. But I think I before this past year was not a proprietor of long distance relationships, but one of the other producers here, Jeff Graham, actually kind of changed my mindset on it a little. Mm-hmm. His wife and he were dating for 2 years long distance before they got married. And they're in a loving relationship. It's very sustained. They're such wonderful people. And he kind of talked to me about that and was like, yeah, it was hard at times, but I just kind of knew that it was right, and I felt that with her, and it kind of made me think about the relationship that I had with who is now my current girlfriend, because for me it was something that I was on the fence about. Not to give too much history about it, but
we're all in. We're all into this story. So
we actually ended up breaking up because I was coming to Los Angeles, but then we got back together because the relationship worked out despite that. So for me, I think long distance can work if it's reasonable for the people who do it.
So y'all met in San Francisco and
in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we met and we actually dated for about a half a year. And then we were apart for about a year, and then we just got back together. Wow. Yeah, in New Year's of 2019.
I love it. I'm all for love. Listen,
yeah, me
I
too.
believe in. I'm a hopeless romantic, so I'm all for it.
But it's also about sustainability.
Yes.
It's like if you guys can function long distance, then of course it works. But I think it all comes down to if you have the ability to work at a distance, then it'll work.
You have to know yourself. So
Absolutely.
What I have learned in the last year, and I think I was talking about it a lot, was you have to be is honesty. And the thing is, like, we love to say, oh, I'm honest, I'm honest, I'm honest. And a lot of times we can be honest with everyone else, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you know that you can't, that you're the type of person that the person you're dating has to be with you all the time, or at least you have to be able to come home to them every night, then yeah, long distance might not be for you. But you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, this is what I need in order to sustain a healthy relationship. And if that's not you, then yeah, maybe, long distance relationships can work.
Yeah, and you're never required to change, but if you do end up changing your mind, I mean, that's all your freedom.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to change because I learned some things about myself, about what I needed, and we kind of just worked it out that way. And
love it.
if you're able to do that, I mean, adaptation is the biggest thing for humans to be able to do.
Yes, if you can adapt, then you can make it
You can
all
conquer.
the time. Yeah. So I want to know what you guys think. Let us know what you think about my question of the week. Long distance relationships, are they for you? Do they work? Does it work for you? Comment below and let us know what you think. All right. And so let's get into our final segment of the day, our special segment. And you guys know, usually this segment, we bring you something pretty rooted in the medical community. There's some type of something that I'm bringing to your attention. I think I talked about gingivitis one time. I mean, we've talked about heart conditions. We've talked about a lot of things on the show. But this particular topic, in lieu of everything that was going on this week with the passing of Kobe Bryant, and even tying it into this episode, which, like I said, is just ironic that they were talking about grief so clearly on this show, grief and prayer. I want to talk to you guys about dealing with grief, because one of the things that was happening with the woman that was sitting next to her husband for the 14 years, she never really was able to grieve and move on. Like, her son brought up the fact that, I'm tired of this 14-year wake because it's never ending. And so you guys know that this past Sunday, the 26th of January, we lost a legend and 9 other people in a helicopter crash, including his daughter, Gianna. And I'm talking about Kobe Bryant, of course. And if you turn on the news, if you're on social media, that's all you see. And from a personal place, I just told Vito right before we came on live that I spent all day yesterday in the house. I spent all day yesterday in the house, not really being able to move. I had like at least 2 serious breakdowns, because when it happened, I was doing Grammy coverage and I was running and just constantly on the go. I couldn't really process everything that I was talking about, which was the death of Kobe Bryant. And when you really just sit and process and think about it, it hits everyone differently. But what I did realize is that I have to put the phone down. I have to turn the TV off. I just have to really grieve in my own way and then move on. And it sucks to say it like that, because it's like, no, but I love him. I love him. I love him. And yeah, I do love Kobe, and I will continue to love Kobe. And even though I never had the pleasure of meeting him, I got to see him courtside at the Lakers. That was like the highlight of my life, but I never got to meet him. From what I do know about him, or what I think I know about him, Kobe would be pissed if he was watching us put our lives on hold and just cry. Kobe was the advocate for, processing, dealing with it, and then attacking the problem. Look at how he attacked basketball. Whatever the challenge, whatever was going on, there was no such thing as I can't. There was no such thing as this won't. Those type of words, he didn't use those. And he was very straightforward and blunt, and he would always just kind of, I'm trying to remember who. There was a basketball player. I can't remember who it is right off the top of my head, but there was a basketball player who was having some issues, and he even told, yo, stop being an idiot. Like, if you really want the career that you want, go after it. You are one of the illest. Nobody can stop you when you do fill in the blank, but you just have to do it. Get out of your head. Stop playing around and being an idiot on Instagram, and go out here and make your dreams come true. Like, he said things like that in a blunt, direct way, but you knew it was coming from love. From what I understand from Shaq's recount, when Shaq is recounting things, and when LeBron has recounted things, and all these different players are recounting things, they talk about how stern and how stiff and how direct Kobe was, but they never took it personal because they knew it was coming from a place of love. Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sharif, he had a heart condition, had to have surgery. It really derailed his aspirations of becoming a professional athlete, and he really did not think that he was going to overcome it. But guess who just randomly would reach out to him every so often just to check on him, just to encourage him, just to tell him, yo, I know you may be down right now, but go do this, do this, do this. Guess who did all that? Kobe. Kobe didn't have to do that. Kobe had 4 daughters of his own to raise. He had a whole camp and a business and more Oscars to win and all of that. But just the type of person that he was, he just lent himself to always motivating everyone else. And so the way that I am processing this grief is, yes, there are going to be tears. Yes, they're going to come and go. But one, I've learned from this show, New Amsterdam, even though I think I already knew it, but it really taught me that you have to help each other. You have to lean, like, when I'm weak, Vito may be strong. When Vito's weak, I may be strong. And whenever those times come, as long as we stay in communication, as long as we're there for each other, I can be there for him when he's weak. He can be there for me when I'm weak. And that's how you get past the grief. You help each other along, and then you celebrate the life of the person. You don't tiptoe around it and, well, we don't want to talk about, like, you don't whisper and put things in boxes and then try to store them away. No, that's what makes things hard. You put it right on Front Street. You celebrate that person. If you feel like talking about whatever it is, you talk about it. You laugh about whatever it is. You cry about whatever it is, but you just address it. Vito, how do you feel about processing grief? Like, what's your methods for dealing with grief?
So I've had a few family members die in my life, and I've had to kind of process through that. I was pretty young going through a lot of it, and I mean, you and I had talked about before the show the idea of the celebration of life, and I think for me the best way to kind of deal with a family death or the death of somebody that I was close to is the idea that I had the chance to have them in my life. I was able to experience having them. And for instance, with a lot of people dealing with the death of Kobe, like, I see people that are always just like bringing up, like, look at this beautiful thing they did. Look at this beautiful thing they did. And like, of course, so many of us have made mistakes, and so many of us have done things that maybe we regret, but we've also all done such beautiful, touching things for people, and I think that should be celebrated more often than not when it comes to deaths. I think it helps me cope. I think it helps the people around me cope, and I think you're right. I think being together and supporting each other in any emotional capacity generally, but especially through times as hard as grief, is like the best thing that we can do. Treat it with seriousness, but also treat it with the lightheartedness it deserves, because we still have to push on. Yeah,
you have to. If you celebrate the person's life, that makes the grief that much, I hate to use this word, but that much easier. And of course, it's not, you don't, when we say move on, it's not move on and forget. By no stretch of the imagination is that what I am saying, and so please don't take it that way. But when I say move on, I mean move on with your life. You have to make your dreams come true. We're still here. I promise you, wherever Kobe and Gianna and the other people that were on that helicopter, wherever they are enjoying their new normal. They are enjoying and just doing all of the things that they love, because they don't have the restrictions that we have here in this realm. And so since we are still here in this realm, we carry their legacies with us. You know, I mentioned on another show on another network that I wanted 3 boys and 1 girl because I didn't want a girl. Now I am low key. If I have all girls, I would feel like, yo, I'm gonna get my Kobe on. Like, I'm excited about the future. So I say all that to say you just have to. Oh, go ahead.
And for those who haven't seen the video, that's in reference to Kobe just talking about how much he loved his daughters. There's a video out there that is going around right now on social media that's talking about like him being a girl dad.
A girl dad,
and
yeah.
It's one of the sweetest things just hearing him talk about how much he loved his daughters and how he would have 5 more daughters if he could or anything like that. And I get I'm totally there.
It's so dope because it's like I was so in my own selfish, oh, this is what I want because this is what I think, that I couldn't even allow myself to see the beauty and what would happen if you actually had all 4 girls, 5 girls, however many girls. And Kobe just made it look so dope. And so, I just venture to say, as you're grieving, because I believe the entire world is grieving because, like you said, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does. We're not perfect, so we all have our hiccups as we grow. But the thing that makes Kobe so freaking dope, aside from the basketball, because I mean, we could talk basketball all day. I don't need to spit facts at you. You guys already know the facts. There's no need to even have the discussion LeBron, Kobe. I put that discussion to rest years and years and years ago, and I said that Kobe was the greatest, and I still stand by that. But the thing that makes Kobe so dope is that he was just a real, genuine person. Every person that recounts their interactions with him, whether they were on camera or off, they just all say that he went out of his way to help. He always had a kind word. No one ever just says, oh, Kobe was a jerk to me. Like, you just don't hear those particular stories. You hear that he was stern. You hear that he was direct, but it all came from a place of love. So, and Kobe also, there was a video floating around where he says, I want you to remember that I lived my life to the fullest, that I didn't waste any moments on this earth, and that I love you. And so I'm saying that to you guys now. I don't think that we say I love you enough to the people that we love, the people we come in contact with, because it really could be the last time that we see each other. So we really do have to just soak up every single moment. So as I sign off tonight, in the words of the greatest that ever did it, Kobe Bryant, I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week right here on AfterBuzz. Actually, I'll take that back. We have the week off. We will see you the week after next for the next episode of New Amsterdam. I am your man, Tyler Tyson. Make sure to follow me at the Tyler Tyson on all social media. And until then, y'all, I love y'all. Peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.